If you wanna meet them at the front gate, you wanna make it into heaven's gates, you gotta walk up and narrow and straight. You gotta walk up and narrow and straight. If you wanna meet them at the front gate, you wanna make it into heaven's gates, you gotta walk up and narrow and straight.
Yo, 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 what up, what up? Hey, it's Pound for Pound and it's Toby D. Listen, I had to calm down a little bit before I could do this podcast. I was mad at first, but probably not as mad as a lot of Falcons fans were. I'm just going to put it this way. I'm not disappointed that the Falcons lost this game. I'm more disappointed at how they lost this game. It was in their hands to win, but I've come up with one strong reason why we lost. And I'm nailing it down to Dann Quinn has run into the Sean Payton effect with Doug Pederson. Everybody remembers, for some reason, Mike Smith just struggled beating Sean Payton. And there was times when they would have the camera on Sean Payton, he would just be smiling because he always seemed to have a few plays in his back pocket just for certain game situations to sneak past Mike Smith. Yes, of course, we've had our few days where the sun shined on us and we were able to embarrass Sean Payton and Drew Brees. But for the most part, since Mike Smith was here, we just could not beat this dude. And a lot of you remember some of those games where he just was able to sneak passes. It's like he was in Mike Smith's head and knew the type of moves Mike Smith would make before Mike Smith would make those moves in that game. And I think of one in particular game, I believe in 2011. Somebody quote me if I'm wrong on this. We're on a 4th and 1 in the 4th quarter. You got Michael Turner already in a single back. Okay, formation, and he's already 5 to 7 yards behind Matt Ryan. For whatever reason, we decided to try to run it. And remember now, we took a timeout, okay, because it was either us, no, it was Sean Payton who took a timeout because he knew what we were finna do. And yet we still came back out there and ran the same play that we were going to run the first time had they not taken that timeout. Even after we knew they took the timeout because they knew what we was going to do. And they stuffed us. Now they get the ball and they kick a field goal. The game is over. It just seems like no matter what Dann Quinn has done in these 3 games, 2 times now in the regular season and 1 time in the playoffs, that's 2 times this year, that Doug Pederson has been able to slip by Dann Quinn. I'm sorry, that's just the way I'm chopping it up to. He has met his Sean Payton, but in another division that is not the NFC South. And until you learn how to beat the wicked witch of the East, Doug Pederson, if you have to meet this guy again, you're going to have some issues. You have got to figure out how to beat this guy. Now I'm going to tell you right here. That 3rd quarter, when they called that ball an incomplete ball on the deep pass of Julio Jones. Now, albeit Julio Jones should have caught it a little bit cleaner than that. That's number one, my problem with that. Otherwise, you wouldn't have a debate about an incomplete pass. And Matt Ryan should have led him more to the end zone with that big separation he had. Okay? Between him and his guy. He should have ran that into a touchdown, but Matt Ryan didn't lead him that way. He led him more toward the sideline, and I don't understand why that was when that was an easy 6 points. But yet, when they called that pass an incomplete pass on Julio Jones just knew he had caught it. Okay? And this is a move that they always said Mills had trouble with, these double moves, and Julio clearly got them. And that's why he smiled, because he knew he was gotten. And he got a break because of the ref saying that was an incomplete pass. And it changed the whole momentum of the game. Now, albeit the Falcons should have had way more points than 6 points. Okay, all the talk about red zone work, red zone this, we got special packages, new wrinkles, all of that leading up to the week did not show up in those 1 of 5 times that you only converted 1 touchdown. But you still had a chance to win that game all the way up until that incomplete call on Julio Jones. Because all of a sudden when that happened, you just saw the air leave out of that team. Momentum that would have been on the Falcons side was just taken away in one swoop. And you tell, because the next play after that, Matt Ryan throws what was called an intentional grounding. And this is one of my other gripes. The 1 out of 3 times that this has happened in this game, that you have now a 3rd and 25 because you lost the down because of that intentional grounding. Okay? And guys, this wasn't the only time this happened where they had a lot of yards to go. You had a 2nd down and 25 because of penalties. Then I think you had another one in the 4th quarter that turned out to be like a 3rd and 24 because of penalties. You can't help a defense that is already great out on the field when they don't need your help. But hey, since you want to help them, they gonna thank you. And you did. And those are some of the things that disturbed me watching this game. And we knew that the momentum was gone. And that 3rd quarter was a true indication of that, because if you also remember, the Eagles, because of that momentum that they swung on their side, scored their next drive after that series of plays and series of calls. So you knew right then that it was pretty much going to be over. We already couldn't score 14 points that we had clearly in the 1st quarter. And here's where I mentioned that Sean Payton effect. Because just like I mentioned about us being 4th and 1, and Sean Payton takes a time out knowing what we're going to do to get his guys better prepared for the play, and yet we still run the same play knowing they're prepared for it, and we get stuffed. They get to kick a field goal, win the game. It's a done deal. It's for some reason Dann Quinn cannot figure out how to beat Doug Pederson, which is why the man deserved to go to a Super Bowl and ultimately win one. And the reason why right now we are still ultimately winless in the Super Bowl reign column. Now, the other thing is my situation. I'm not going to get too hard on Steve Sarkisian just yet. I want to see these next 3 games to truly understand what it is he's trying to do with his team. We know clearly in this game, and I told y'all this during the last podcast, Julio Jones was the show. And I told you that Julio Jones cannot be the only one relied upon to win this game. Yet we saw Matt Ryan and Steve Sarkisian dialing up these plays. Yes, 169 yards is great, and it's not something that's easy to get, especially on this Eagles defense. But the fact of the matter is, as it remains today, you have your star $30 million quarterback without a touchdown and 1 interception, which, by the way, they showed a stat that Matt Ryan leads the league of all quarterbacks with 8 interceptions since 2015. Kyle's first year here with us. That's not good. And it's really not good for you to throw an interception when they made a cornerback switch. Give Jim Schwartz some credit. Man can't head coach worth a dang, but he can defensive play call. He switches out the cornerback because he knew that they were going to be relying on Julio Jones. So in order to further make Matt Ryan look like a fool and make it look more tempting for Matt Ryan to throw it over to Julio Jones, he puts the guy in that Matt Ryan thinks he's going to pick on, and him and Julio have miscommunication, and here's the interception. It's done deal. we can't blame everything on Steve Sarkisian just yet, because they did not execute as well as they should have. Okay. But here's the thing. If you're not executing well, then the head coach, that lies on him. Dann Quinn may need to, in the offseason, reassess some of his practice methods, because you can't come back another season. And I'm not going to be trying to hear it with Thomas Dimitroff saying the same thing he said about the end of last season, that they under-executed. If you're under-executing, that to me lies heavily on the head coach and how he is setting up his practices. Yes, some of that might be equated to the new rule changes when they signed the CBA. But still, you have to figure out how to get your team to focus, especially when you're subscribing to the same philosophy as Pete Carroll, with believing that practice is everything. Basically, if you can't do it in practice, you don't see a vision of them doing it on game day. We can't ride with the excuses continuously that it looked good in practice. We don't know why it didn't show up in the game. Okay, to me, I love the game plan. It was a lot of heavy tight end usage in there. But we knew when Steve Sarkisian came to Atlanta in the first place, one of his tendencies is liking to use tight ends. And he did that mostly in this game with the 3 tight ends that he had. Now, what the game plan is going to be in this next game, we don't know against Carolina. But now you got 2 division games you have to win. Now, I'm not panicking. It's the first game of the year for Atlanta. And when I went back and looked at Matt Ryan's record on week 1, he's 6-5. He's 1 game over 500. Meaning those games in week 1 could go either way for the Atlanta Falcons. There were a few games in week 1 over Matt Ryan's tenure they could have easily lost. And probably end up being more games lost in week 1 than games won. So I'm not really worried about that first game of the week for them, of the year, period. They got 3 games coming up here at home. This is where, even though I said this game for Steve Sarkisian was an audition for him, I don't think Steve Sarkisian did as bad as the players did executing what it is he was calling. But the fact remains, you got to figure out how to get your team, Dann Quinn, more focused if there is an issue on execution. Something has got to be done there. Either it's got to be something in what you're saying or how you're doing things. And unfortunately, it's too late to really change a lot of that stuff because you've already gotten into the season. You can't just up and change routine that the team has already gotten in their mental mindset to do now that the season has started. So we're going to have to ride this thing out. There was a lot of things in this game that we can all be upset about. Clearly, the 1 out of 5 times you got into the red zone and not being able to score, we knew that the next day, as soon as everything was done with, that was going to be talked about and be the main subject of discussion. And it was, and rightfully so. We didn't run the ball as well as we needed to run the ball. We threw the ball a lot more. Even after Dann Quinn said we got to figure out how to run the ball against these guys, we continue to get away from running the ball and not committing to it. I don't care what kind of front they had up in there. You got to be able to run this ball on these guys. And if you do this, you don't have 4 sacks in a game. And a lot of those sacks wasn't even necessary. And that right there is disturbing. You got 3 guys, actually 4 guys on your offensive line making more money collectively than Matt Ryan. And you just gave Jake Matthews a fat contract. Even though he's not a Pro Bowl caliber tackle yet, he still got big money. Something has got to change ladies and gentlemen, we cannot have this many guys on your offensive line making all of that money and giving up sacks that were unnecessary, that were not needed when you have a chance to win the game. Period. And those are things that upset me as a Falcons fan after I just said we don't have a ring. And I'm sorry if people don't like me for saying that. I want a ring, and I'm hoping to get one before I leave here, which I'm hoping not anytime soon. But when are we going to get to where we are coaching Super Bowl caliber coaching and playing Super Bowl level playing and not getting there and then forget how to coach and how to play? You can't do that on a Thursday night game. You're opening up the season, something I've always wanted for my Falcons to do, and you just blow it the way that you blew it. You can't do it. And, listen, I try not to look and feel embarrassed. Yeah, I still wear my Falcons hat. I'm still proud to wear all my stuff. Even when the Falcons lose and people come ask me, man, what happened? There's times I can't even explain it. I've been a Falcons fan so long that, it just becomes times where you just used to seeing certain things happening. You just figure it's going to happen at some point where we're just going to find a way to embarrass ourselves and not be able to get over the hump of doing that. I don't even know when that's going to happen. But right now, as it stands, I'm looking at a superstar quarterback that doesn't have no touchdowns after 5 trips. And Julio Jones that don't have any touchdowns after 5 trips. I don't care if he's got 169 yards or not. They call that empty yards. And that's exactly what he got. Empty yards. Now, I don't know where else to go from there. I don't mind people being mad at me about saying that. No, I'm not giving up on Matt Ryan, and I'm not giving up on Julio Jones. Them are 2 of my favorite players on the team. But there is a problem when neither one of them have a touchdown, and all Matt Ryan has going into game 2 is an interception, and Julio Jones 0 TDs. Period. And this is what's the big discussion about Julio Jones wanting his money. A lot of people felt he didn't deserve the money because he only had 3 touchdowns last year. That was it. And to me, like I said, I would love for him to get paid. But something has to change. I don't know what it is. Like I said, I'm not going to be on Steve Sarkisian right now. I'm going to wait till these next 3 games to see where he's really going with his play calling. The season just started, y'all. And we played against a tough defense starting out. We knew this already. I didn't expect the Falcons to go in there and just straight up light it up, but I expected us to be able to beat them with all the talent that we've acquired. But it's looking like a weakness with this offensive line that's making all of this money. Period. You can't protect the $30 million quarterback and you got at least 3 or 4 guys out of 5 making mega bucks. Something is a problem. And we got to figure out how to rectify that stuff right now, because you about to play against another tough front who acquired Dontari Poe that we did not re-sign. Now, one thing I can say is a positive, even though it hurts that we've lost Keanu Neal for the season with a torn ACL, because he hurt that same knee twice, and the second time he couldn't recover from it. DeMonte Casey continues to look good even out of the preseason. Dude plays bigger than what his weight says. And he's going to benefit heavily from having a lot of time on the field with Ricardo Allen. So I am excited about that part. But at the same time, guys, ultimately we're trying to win a Super Bowl. It's hard to do that, though, when it's in your own house, because nobody has done it before. We're trying to be the first team to do it. And with all the excitement, the remake of Welcome to Atlanta song with JD and Luda, You can sense the excitement in Atlanta knowing that we had a Super Bowl here, that we want to be the first team and fans to experience that, playing on our home field in a big game like Super Bowl and hopefully winning it. We have to make the necessary adjustments right now before this season slips away from us. And we're looking at, wow, we got a lot of talent. And we were only 8-8 or 7-9. All that talk we talk about the Saints, we do not want to be there. So let's get this thing right these next 3 games at home, 2 games against division foes, and 1 game against the AFC North with the Bengals. Let's win this thing. Hey, I'm out. Y'all please comment, share, like. I didn't mean to go this long, but I just had to just let some stuff out. Hey, man, talk about how you feel about what happened. And subscribe if it's in your heart to do so. I'm going to try to continue going throughout the season. And hopefully at some point I can get with JR. And, man, we can do some things together. When him and I both have time to link up and do so. But, hey, it's Pound for Pound, Toby D. Peace. I'm out.